We've been focusing about the economy. There's a lot of emphasis placed on small and medium-sized enterprises to save the economy, but for many, they have an uphill battle just to survive. They've been hit particularly badly by pandemic restrictions. Andile Khumalo is a businessman and the founder of I Am an Entrepreneur. He joins us now. Andile, good evening to you. Thanks for your time on The Pulse. Today's speech, firstly, is it really going to help small and medium enterprises at all?
I hope so. I don't have a lot of trust and belief that the president's targets are anything new that's going to achieve anything particularly different to what we've been trying to achieve in the past few months and years here in South Africa. I didn't get any sense of anything concrete or something new or some kind of new development or idea that will change things. I think I agree with Dr. Tabi saying that you were speaking to a few minutes ago. A lot of it for me looks like targets and kind of aspirations, and it looks like a lot of it is kind of linked and tied to the infrastructure efforts that we've been trying to get going as a country for the longest time. So no, my short answer is I don't think so. But, you know, I'm a hopeful man. I hope that the president's got a few aces up his sleeve that he's going to come up with something. But in my honest view, and as an entrepreneur, I don't think we do enough to support and encourage and fund and help small businesses to thrive.
There's a huge conversation around regulation now. I know a lot of business owners who complain about regulation. They complain about it in all different forms. And government almost always pushes back and says regulation is about looking after the safety of people. Is there too much regulation for these firms?
I don't think regulation is important, Stephen. I don't think that, you know, we can call for kind of the rule of law and then at the same time we complain that we're being governed or regulated too much. I do think some regulation is important. And yes, there are elements of our rate tape that could be better. I would find it very difficult to put it plainly onto regulation for the reasons why small businesses struggle. I think there's a more of a macroeconomic issue. We just have a slow economy, Stephen. You know, we can cut this up and dress it up all we want. We don't have enough economic activity happening, and we certainly don't have that little bit of economic activity happening being as inclusive as possible with as many people in it as possible. So I would not put the blame on regulation. Yes, of course we can do better. There's other countries that have shown us the way, speed of registering a company, speed of making sure your taxes are in order. Yes, it can be better, but I would think it's unfair to just call it out on regulation. I think, frankly, we've got bigger problems.
I mean, it's a very tough environment for firms. You can start up business selling almost anything. There'll be less demand for that thing, whether it's a service or a good, than there was 6 months ago because of the COVID-19 lockdown and the pandemic.
Absolutely, and that's why I'm an entrepreneur. We're running this session on Saturday that's trying to focus on something slightly different that we don't often talk about, and that is the option of buying a business. Because, you know, starting a business just comes with so many things that are inherent. But I do think that in difficult economic times, of course, this is an unprecedented situation of COVID-19, there may be people who've run businesses that has a track record, it's been there for a while, it's got cash going in and out of a bank account, it's probably got bankers already or even lenders, it certainly has customers, it certainly has been out there, but obviously the year that has happened. And there may very well be shareholders, family-owned businesses, potentially even other investors that might be keen to exit and move their monies elsewhere. And that might create an opportunity for some of us to come in, buy those businesses, take over, and try and resuscitate and revitalize, because at least there is a track record, at least there are customers, albeit, of course, that because the economy is so slow, those customers are obviously not buying as they used to.
Every small business person I've ever spoken to, every expert in this space has always said the same thing. It's about capital. You need capital to start a business. Even a very small business, you need a small amount of capital. I hate to be this guy, but there's probably less capital in the economy now than there was.
There probably is, and I would even go as far as saying it's probably going to be a bit tight on the debt side, Stephen. I'm pretty sure when the banks are looking at a lot of the cash flows right now, what's happened in the year, and trying to forecast into the future. I mean, who knows the future, right? There's all sorts of talks about a second wave potentially of this COVID-19 horrible virus. So who knows the future? So I would imagine for those people that are lending from balance sheet of depositors like banks, I would imagine that they'll be a little bit, nervous about kind of extending themselves too much. But there is a lot of wealth out there. There is still a lot of equity. And that's probably the biggest opportunity now. How do you get people that are looking for investment returns, who are wanting to get into these investments at a lowest possible price so that one day they exit at the highest price? So in my gut tells me there may be more equity than we would think out there of people that are looking for great opportunities. And they're looking for jockeys and entrepreneurs to back so that those people can get into businesses that look like they're well priced in this market so that they can build them kind of trade outside of this difficult environment. So yes, I'd agree that things like debt are tight, but I suspect there's a lot of equity that's going to start walking into economies that look stable and that look hopeful and that look like they can deliver some superior returns, perhaps relative to developed markets.
Andile, I hope you don't mind me saying so, but I'm so glad you're an entrepreneur. You're way too optimistic to be an economist. Andile Khumalo, thanks very much indeed. All right, businessman, founder of I Am an Entrepreneur.